What if I told you that we've been using fusion rifles all wrong? That in fact, the way in which you've been using fusion rifles since their inception is completely different than how you should be using them now. Fellas, today we're going to be reviewing the fusion rifle Erentil yet again. At one time, this was the deadliest weapon, or at least one of the deadliest weapons inside of Crucible. It was potent. It had backup plan, extended kill range, essentially instantaneous pow-wow, one-hit KO potential all the way up to 40 meters, or just about. It was dumb, no doubt about it. But it has since been nerfed in multiple ways, except one, and that is hip fire. Yeah, you heard that right. We are hip firing with a fusion rifle. Sounds crazy? Perhaps. However, the gameplay may surprise you. Now, before we get into today's video, we have a sponsorship. The mobile game Raid Shadow Legends is back again. It's a turn-based strategy RPG game that we've talked about a multitude of times, and if you happen to grow up on turn-based strategy games, you'll feel right at home with Raid. Now, no doubt Raid has had a lot of success, over 25 million downloads, 1 million concurrent players every single day. It's amazing to see the growth that this game has obtained over the past few years, most notably because of their sandbox balancing team. Yeah, they've got a dedicated sandbox balancing team. Due to the large amount of champions that are present in the game, balancing them accordingly is extremely important. And this month, they recently balanced 20 champions to make them better inside of PvP. Yeah, they go the other way. They don't nerf, they buff. They also introduced a Forge this month, which just came out, which will allow you to craft top quality artifacts, allowing your champions to compete immediately. So I know it's somewhat overwhelming that so many players are actively playing the game. They've been at it for probably a good year or so, but there are catch-up mechanics that will allow you to be just as potent as them, and the fact that they rebalance things also allows for a new sandbox for all players, even veterans. Now, a promotion that's going on right now is that all new players will get 100,000 silver plus 50 gems, 10 mystery shards, as well as the free champion Slasher, which is an extremely deadly champ. Again, you just get this by clicking the link below. All of these things will be present in your inbox when entering the game. Again, though, this is only for the next 30 days. So guys, check out Raid whenever you can. Now back to the review. So hip fire on a fusion rifle. First up, I want to mention there's just not that many fusion rifles with hip fire. Not only is there not that many fusion rifles with hip fire, there's not many of us that keep a fusion rifle with hip fire, like ever. But here recently, I reviewed the Slug Shotgun First In, First Out, showcasing its hip fire capabilities. Matter of fact, Les and I 1v1, and it was crazy how many 1v1s I won against Les while he was using Chaperone and other shotguns by simply shooting from the hip. This is most notably due to the hip fire buff that occurred earlier this season. Now, the weapons that kind of like took forefront of this buff, obviously Last Word really benefited from this, especially for controller users, which is why many of us have overlooked hip fire on a lot of other weapons. But for fusion rifles, which are also hit scan weapons, hip fire hands down affects these weapons in a positive way. Now, there's not many fusion rifles that come with hipfire. Main ingredient, Prolium, Gallant Charge, Erentil, Alatha. That's about it. Now, we chose Erentil to roll with because it also rolls with the trait Tap the Trigger. Tap the Trigger grants a short period of increased stability and accuracy on the initial trigger pull. This is actually present in that second trait column, whereas Hipfire Grip also increases accuracy, but the stability and precision hit targeting when firing from the hip. Now, we're not necessarily hitting precision hits, but the stability buff as well as the increase in accuracy is extremely nice, and it happens to stack with Tap the Trigger. The combination of these two things is what's making our Erentil here extremely deadly when shooting from the hip. Now, to make matters even sexier, we throw on a freehand grip mod. Oh, you see what we're doing here, fellas? Now, after doing all of these things, the question comes back: is Hipfire Grip really worth using on a fusion rifle? Honestly, outside of our exotic fusion rifles, fusions have really dropped off. I still use Telesto, but that's Telesto. Telesto's the best stuff. You got Jotun, and probably the best fusion rifle, if I had to choose one, Bastion. However, when talking about Hipfire Grip, the real question we should be asking is Hipfire Grip a strong enough trait to elevate these legendary fusion rifles to the same level of lethality that our exotics have? No. Man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but no, it doesn't. It just doesn't. It's good, but exotic fusion rifles, at least from my playstyle, is still the way to go. There was a lot of ease of use that Hipfire Grip provided, although multiple times I questioned whether or not I should just be using Firmly Planted. I think Firmly Planted is still a stronger perk. Plus, the problem with Erentil as well as other fusion rifles, or at least the ones that have scopes like this one, is that they heavily rely on you aiming down sights. You see, you get a zoom increase from your scope, scopes, those big giant scopes that are found on these Omlon fusion rifles, only offer the range benefits when aiming down sights, meaning we go from seeing damage fall off starting at about 14 meters to suddenly 19 meters. Pales in comparison to what it was pre-nerf. At the same time, it means that speccing out for high zoom is almost essential, especially on these high impacts. Now, the fusion rifles that I have my eyes on, ones that don't have any drawbacks to them as they come with barrel perks, and they also roll with hipfire grip, is actually Gallant Charge. Gallant might actually be the play here. Number one, it also comes with hipfire grip. Number two, it comes with tap the trigger. Number three, it comes with barrel perks, meaning we can boost our range with say something like full bore, which will offer its benefits of increased range, as the range increase is stacked into the stat itself and not necessarily in the zoom. Honestly, if you have that role, feel free to reach out to me. I am curious about it. What we do know for sure is that backup plan, at least on high impacts, are not the way to go. Exotic fusion rifles, for the most part, outclass legendaries. And even though hipfire grip does actually provide more benefit than it ever did before, for something like Erentil, which already has something like Firmly Planted, which is also present in the same exact column as hipfire grip, it's a hard sell. Again, Gallant Charge seems to be the fusion rifle that will benefit the most from these trait combinations, although many people just don't use Gallant Charge inside of PvP. I've used it. I like it. I think it's a fantastic fusion, but it's got a 1.8 rating here, and I don't know why. Overall, I think the playstyle that hipfire presents is one that I really like on a fusion. You got a guy closing the gap on you with a shotgun. You know you're gonna lose sight of him if you aim down sights. So instead, you just stop, square up with them, start the backpedal, and let hipfire take the wheel. And it works. But that also means that if there's someone at a distance on you, don't hipfire. Like, I know I'm doing it in a lot of this gameplay here, but don't do it. Just aim down sights. It's easier to get the kill at 20 meters when aiming down sights. Hipfire, to me, is just something that allows you to secure those kills 15 meters or less. And again, most shotguns outside of slugs stay less than 9 meters. So you have a sweet spot there to always beat shotgun rushers from that 9 to 15, 16 meter range when shooting from the hip. And again, you can pick them up even further than that, up to 20 meters when aiming down sights. There's a play style to it, guys. Don't be too rigid if you're planning on using hipfire. More or less go back and forth between the both of those depending on the situation that you're in. And you'll be pleasantly surprised with how good hipfire does. I think the main issue for me, at least when I used this, was I was like, man, everything I'm doing with this right now, I could probably just do with a Bastion. Bastion's just so strong, right? However, if you do happen to have that Gallant Charge with that hipfire tap the trigger roll, let me know. You can always feel free to drop by our Discord, get into our God roll section. We have a lot of folks that come in there and drop their God rolls. And if you happen to have this roll, feel free to add me. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.